Hey everyone, welcome back to Redditly. Today's video is titled Divorce. Please make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a future upload from us. Let's get right into it. So this little story begins with me and my wife happily married. We had two wonderful daughters, 13 and 10, and a pretty healthy relationship. Or so I thought. Anyways, at some point, things started to appear off. She got very clingy to her phone all of a sudden, made sure to delete the saved password feature on our common PC, started having phone calls that suddenly ended when I came into the house/room. You can probably guess what it was. Now having 15 years of marriage behind us, I was hoping it wasn't what it obviously seemed to be. So one day, when she told me she was going to spend some time with the girls, I decided to follow her. Sure enough, I find her driving to a hotel to meet with let's just call him P. To say it was gut punch was an understatement. I literally cried for an hour straight. After I was done with myself wallowing phase, I decided the best course was getting even. I thought of several scenarios that may or may not have involved me beating P into a bloody pulp. Eventually, I decided to do things more civilly and more importantly, legally. But only just. So the first part of the plan was gathering evidence. I could have just gotten a PI, but I had something better in mind. So one day when my wife was at her job and the kids at school, I installed some small cameras and microphones I had bought. Due to the setup of our bedroom, I even managed to get one perfectly overlooking the bed. I didn't, however, use them while I was at home. So a couple of days passed when I proposed to my wife that the next weekend I should take the girls on a trip, land site that I will not reveal, and stay a night too. At this point, I should also mention that due to her job being pretty demanding and frequently exhausting her, and just due to our various passions and talents, I was always the main caregiver. I more often than not was the one cooking. I took a far more active role in raising the girls and showed them a lot more patience and attention. I didn't spoil them or anything like that. So me going alone with the girls on a trip wasn't that weird. This part will also be very important later. So 2 weeks pass. In the meantime, I get my affairs in order and contact a lawyer to write a separation agreement that would involve me keeping residents in custody. I go on the trip, try not to give anything away to the girls, and wait to see if P and my wife fall into the trap. When I returned, I checked the recordings of the weekend, and sure enough, it's a 36 hours F fest. When they weren't effing, the dialogue was something even better. I found out that P had a wife, even more on her later. But even worse, they also talked about me. And besides the bodily character assassination that I expected about how small my D was, how I didn't satisfy her, etc., there was some really hurtful stuff, like her telling P some of my deepest secrets and shameful stories that I had only told her about, just so they could have a laugh. So at this point, I didn't have doubts on what to do. The next day when the kids left, but before my wife left, I confronted her with the video and told her that either she signs a separation agreement and leaves the house, or the girls are going to receive an in-depth explanation of all the orifices mommy got effed in. I wasn't gonna do that, just to be clear. I love my daughters too much, but I put the threat there and she was too emotional to realize my bluff. She went through all the stages, denying everything, trying to bargain, threatening me, and getting angry. I let it go through all that stuff. Eventually, she signed the paper and she departed that very evening after she told her goodbyes to the girls. I didn't show or tell the girls anything graphic. I was always very honest with them, which is another reason why I was always the favorite parent. So I just said that mommy had been unfaithful. The younger took some time figuring it out, but that was made up by my older getting mightily upset. She had just gotten her first BF, as I'm sure the term really applies at that age, but she knew enough of the world to get pissed off big time. This will be important at a would-be custody battle, as though she did for the moment agree to give over custody. I feared, and I was right to fear, that she would try and fight me for the kids. What I didn't expect was for her to use her visitation rights to talk S about me. Basically, she started telling my younger about how it was all my fault for not forgiving her. Her lawyer even started demanding she receive custody. There was no way for her to receive money or the house as she was caught cheating, and in my state, that means quite a lot in divorce proceedings. So I finally activated my nuclear revenge plan. Enter trip to South Carolina. Why South Carolina? Simple. Fort Sumter. I really wanted my daughters to see it. I definitely did not go there because it is one of the last places where revenge isn't illegal, and where I could upload my wife and P's escapades with no worries on and other such sites, as you cannot be prosecuted for crimes that weren't illegal when and where they were committed. I sent the links to my wife's employer, her clients, and everybody in her line of work just to be sure, to P's wife and to his firm. P soon got a divorce. I feel sorry for his wife as she was an innocent victim in all of this, but I think it's better that she found out. As for my wife, this was the end of any chance to get custody. She soon got fired from her job of 8 years, and while the revenge P word was a real D move that did count in court, it being done in South Carolina, it wasn't illegal or prosecutable, so it could only be used as a minus about my personality. But with my wife unemployed and practically being blacklisted in her profession due to being on PHA, as well as the girls, or to put it better, my younger being told what to do by my older, stating they wanted to stay with me, there was no question on who would get custody. Yes, due to her being unemployed, I got no alimony, but honestly, I make enough money to sustain both me and my girls, so I don't care, and I'm good enough at caring for them, and they are old enough to allow me to have a full-time job. Several months later, my wife is still unemployed. I don't know if it's from the P or from the virus. The girls are really growing up just fine and don't seem to mind not seeing their B mother. The last time I communicated with my ex-wife was on Facebook, where she told me how I ruined her life and her relationship to her daughters. But honestly, I think she earned it. And the first comment says, this is one of the I can't morally condone this, but the B deserved it anyway moments. Recording was used for evidence, justified. Sending it to P's wife was a good thing for her in the long run, definitely justified. I'd say even sharing it with her boss to show him what a cheating scumbag she is was fine. He was under no obligation to fire her, but he chose to do so anyways. I know people are gonna say it has nothing to do with their job, and that is true in most cases, but she wasn't just a cheater. She didn't have a one-night stand. She is a liar, manipulator, abuser, and other things. I wouldn't want to work with someone like that, would you? My only problem is that putting them online while she deserved it 100% wasn't the smartest idea. There will still be few that side with her because of this alone. Even if they know of the manipulation, and if my mom did this to my dad or vice versa, not just serial cheating, the manipulation and abuse is more appalling in my opinion. I wouldn't want to speak with them for a long time. To be frank, I'm 16, not 10 to 13, so it's very different. Though I would still likely desire a relationship after some time, people are right that your daughters will be mad about it being online though, even if it's only some obscure virus-infested website that only 30 weirdos use at this point. No matter what one of the parents did, heck, they could be a murderer, rapist, torturer, etc. I would still be sick to my stomach knowing their naked body is online without their consent. She's still far worse than you though, don't worry. The second comment says, decades ago, I found out my first wife, Patty, was screwing around on me with a boy from Texas named Dave. I don't want to paint her as a slutbag or anything like that. I was no angel. We were young, worked completely different work hours. Our communication was very poor. Patty got lonely and Dave swooped in like a shark. Patty and I separated, I kept the kids, and after a little bit, I found out the name of the guy and watched them. He got Patty a little studio house so he could bang her without the cost of a motel. One night, I got a sitter and went to the local club and saw my ex was there, as well as Dave's wife, Sheila, and her girlfriend. I saw Sheila leave the place with her girlfriend and follow them to their car at a discreet distance. When they were in their car, I came up, making a bit of noise so they know I was there, to her door and knocked gently on her window. I said, "You're Sheila, Dave's wife, right?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, you should know your husband is screwing my wife," and began walking away. I did not even get to the back of her car before she opened her door and called out, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a minute, tell me more." Turns out they had been married for like 4 to 5 years, and he had engaged in at least 5 extramarital affairs. I told her everything, including the amount of time Patty and Dave had been bonking, the motel he put her up in first, the address of the house he got her, the works. I believe Sheila divorced him shortly after that. He also got fired from his job at a military installation on the east end of that town. Sheila was seriously hot. Wished I could have hooked up with her.